fabric of the automobile is the fabric of Americana. I don't look at it that we sell cars. We provide transportation and services to our customers. The tools, the atmosphere, the product. I've lived in a lot of parts of this world, and you will not find a finer place to come to work than the West Hills Autoplex.
1949 is ultimately when our company's legacy gave birth, when Chuck opened up his first used car dealership down in downtown Bremerton on 6th Street. He did something that nobody did back in the day. Chuck would put a 30-day warranty on every one of his used cars. You had a problem with that car 2 weeks out, you bring it back, Chuck was standing at the door, handled you. I think Chuck's competitors thought he was nuts.
He was a handshake guy. You could handshake with him and that was the deal. He bought several pieces of property without a contract. It was a handshake, and that just tells you a little bit about him and his family.
It's amazing, you know, I watch the evolution of it, and I still sometimes think, how did it happen?
The core values of our company are based on the beliefs of one man, that you do business with a handshake and you do the right thing. And it doesn't matter what the profit is, as long as you have a good customer, you'll always have profit.
People don't really care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
I watched multiple times where Chuck was given awards in the community, and it was a real short speech. I love this community. Bremerton's done a lot for me, and I'm going to do a lot for Bremerton.
The Admiral Theater, the YMCA.
We're honored to have the Hazelwood family name on our YMCA. Without that gift, without that investment, we wouldn't be here today with 21,000 of your neighbors enjoying this place.
When we had a disaster during a big storm, we lost the roof of the library, and they were big supporters of Olympic College. They made a large contribution, and they got other people to help.
These contributions create dynamic relationships for generations to come.
I think that pretty well explains how Chuck felt. I mean, he gave you the sense that he cared, and that was real important to his success.
He knew what to do, and we struggled, and then things just started turning around.
I think competitors back in the day probably thought he was a little cuckoo and then he wouldn't be able to last. And here we are, 60 years later. I think we're doing okay. In 1957, Ford came into our lives with the biggest failure in its history, the Edsel. The Ford rep came to Bremerton, and they saw what Chuck was doing and the success he was having in the used car business, and they wanted him to be a part of Edsel and the new car business. The Ford rep told Chuck, Edsel's name is on this car. This car will last beyond Ford. 2 years into it, he's out of it, and that was his first taste in the new car business. His thoughts were, I'm not touching that new car business again. I'll do fine just selling my used cars here. In 1963, after Chuck had gone back to selling used cars and was happy doing that, and still smarting from the demise of Edsel, General Motors and Buick came knocking. Buick reps came to Chuck again, just as the Edsel guys did, and wanted him to become a new car dealer. This is at a time when Buick had had some success in the late 50s, but by 1963 was selling half and was struggling. They kind of looked at the Buick guy and kind of laughed at him and said, I'm doing pretty well in used cars. And here's what changed Chuck's mind when he saw the 1963 Buick Riviera. When Chuck saw that car, I think he realized the renaissance by Buick, which ultimately did happen. From 1963 on, Buick was setting sales records. He loved the Riviera. He drove that Riviera for 20 plus years. After many other franchises had come on board and our growth continued in our company, Chuck was still loyal to that Buick Riviera. So Chuck's back in the new car business, and we have the same success we were having with used cars due to the same principles: customer first, quality, and it brings a component to our organization that we hadn't previously had, and that's facilities. There was a national feature article in 1969 on our first facility that Chuck built from the ground up on Kitsap Way, talking about the unique architecture, the Buick Wildcat frame that hung in his waiting area, the amenities that were provided for the employee and for the customer. A place for our customers to come and do business that's comfortable, inviting, cutting edge. It was state of the art in 1969. It started this component of success of our company that we still strive and live with today, and taking great pride in our facilities.
This isn't the real car business. This is an uncommon environment that you will never find a duplicate of in our industry.
Our facilities go well beyond what our competitors consider a nice facility.
You build a name in the community, and that name in the community is gold in Bremerton, and the gold standard really is Hazelwood Auto Center.
In 1973, things slowed down, literally, from 70 to 55 miles an hour with the oil embargo. American car manufacturers were building larger automobiles. The GM product was the only thing in our portfolio at the time. And along came a little car named Honda from Japan. Honda was the little car that could, and it did. Chuck had the hindsight to be in on the ground level and was awarded one of the first Honda franchises on the West Coast in 1974.
Who would have ever thought that it would take the world by storm, but it did. I can remember our first load of Hondas, and there were about 10 cars on the truck, and they were icky brown and turquoise, just two colors. And they didn't stay on the lot very long, and we were waiting for the next load of cars. That was the start of the upward climb.
That little car provided more growth for us that allowed us to open up the West Hills Honda dealership in an old gravel pit in 1985. In 1988, I had just recently graduated from college with a degree in accounting. I had never thought of myself being in the car business. I knew about it, I understood it and what Chuck did, but I had other ideas.
He was going to be an accountant, and Chuck talked to him one day about, do you think you'd ever be interested in coming back and working at the dealership? And I remember Rick looked at him and he said, I thought you'd never ask.
I jumped into the fold and started running the Buick store and got knee-deep in the operations from that point forward.
He learned, and he learned quickly. And Chuck let him, talking about giving someone a lot of rope. He let him bring in new ideas. He let him do things that he probably would not have done.
I worked in finance, worked in all the different departments of the dealership, and just got a taste for all of them.
I'd go to war with Rick any day. He puts in the time, he puts in the effort. He's a smart guy. He understands the business extremely well.
The years of 1992 to 94, it got crazy. In 1992, we acquired the Toyota franchise and placed it into the Buick location. In 94, we acquired the Kia franchise. We were one of the first 25 Kia dealers in the country, and then went on a facility binge where we built 2 facilities simultaneously. We built the new Buick, Pontiac, and GMC truck store in the Autoplex, and we also built a standalone Toyota dealership in the Autoplex.
And above us now, where the West Hills Chrysler Jeep store is, was a gravel pit, a working gravel pit with dump trucks coming up and down the streets. And where the Heartland Toyota store sits currently was a Coca-Cola distribution plant.
From 88 to 94 and the growth that occurred there, we probably had 50 employees, 60 employees in 1988 versus close to 200 when we come out of 1994. It was crazy times. Back in the day, Chuck gave me a lot of rope, and during that time of crazy expansion development, I gave out a lot of rope too. We needed people in place that understood our vision, Chuck's vision, my vision. I had to get some good players and guys that had been in our company, understood what we were all about, that went out and executed how we want to execute. In 2000, another opportunity is provided to us when we purchased Oldsmobile Cadillac, kind of going back to our Etzel days. We bought Oldsmobile, and 45 days later they killed it. We had to litigate, which gave us a Chevrolet Cadillac store. So we built a new facility for Chevrolet Oldsmobile Cadillac. About 2003, with the huge growth of Toyota, we knew something had to happen here. Toyota was in the smallest facility in the Autoplex, and we built a brand new Toyota facility that opened up in 2007.
Chuck decided to put palm trees on the entryway coming in.
I put the palm trees in, but it was Chuck's idea.
Why are there palm trees everywhere? When you see palm trees, you think of the beautiful ocean and the white sand beaches, and you're warm and you're having a wonderful time. And we want you to have a wonderful time when you come to our dealership.
Palm trees have been Chuck's idea forever because trees that are green leaves drop in the winter, and palm trees don't drop anything.
He had to fight with the county over it. They said palm trees are not native to the Northwest and that we couldn't use them, and he fought them.
When we first put those palm trees in the auto center, that was the front page news. These things won't live, they'll die, there's too much rain, and it was perfect. They all look good, don't they?
So we get the Toyota store in its new facility. We're seeing the fruition of the Autoplex coming together as a group. We've got all our franchises facility in play, and we have totally set the table for huge success in the future. And along comes 2008. "2008 was a topper. We were in uncharted territory where we had to do some things in a quick fashion to provide for the future of this company. We combined the GM operations. We ended up securing Dodge. We put them all into one facility. Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge all together. It became a beautiful thing. And we were well set up with little debt, and it provided us the opportunity to continue our legacy. When times got tough, what it showed us is that our customers were still very, very loyal to our organization. And all of that customer satisfaction and the reputation of our company within the community helped us tremendously during those tough times. Having gone through and experienced the 08 recession, we are a much better company. When you look around our company, here's what you're going to see every day. You're going to see people who come to work expecting success with integrity, treating fellow employees with respect and integrity, and providing quality customer experiences on a daily basis wherever you are on the front lines, sweating the small stuff. We have individuals that were lot attendants, started selling cars for us, and worked their way up through the ranks and sat in multiple positions and understand wholeheartedly what we're all about, understand the rules of engagement.
People really understand what's going on here. It's a smaller community, word gets out quickly, it gets noticed. The bar's a little higher in terms of your conduct, how you handle yourself, and how you treat your customers. So I think you always have to understand that working in Kitsap County.
Let me tell you what I want for you. I want you to realize in your career everything that you ever dreamed possible, and a couple things you haven't even thought of yet. This culture will envelop you in growth and change, and that change is dynamic, and it will make your life everything you want it to be.
What does this company look like 10 years from now? I know what the company looks like from a standpoint of how we're going to do business, how we're going to treat people, how we're going to treat our employees, and what our facilities are going to look like. I know what the company is going to look like in that regard. How big it is, maybe we take this model that we've created here in Bremerton and we go plant it in another city. It is my intent that we are definitely a growth company.
When Rick tells you that the best is yet to come, that he has visions of things that we haven't yet seen, you better believe it's coming true.